Rosco McQueen Firefighter Extreme. Even just saying the title feels like a product of its time. Loud, bold and full of that late 90s PS1 energy. But for me, this wasn't just another obscure platformer buried in the PlayStation sprawling library. This one had roots. I first saw Rosco on a PlayStation Magazine demo disc 07 Volume 2, the same one that introduced me to Nightmare Creatures. Only Rosco wasn't playable, it was just a video, and yet that video stuck with me. From the big colourful environments, a hero who looked like an action figure, fire, chaos, robots. It was all very intense, but in a way that felt strangely inviting.
Thank you very much, Mr. McQueen.
I didn't end up owning Rosco until about 2 years after its release. I picked it up in a reduced bin, the sort of place you find 5 football games and a cracked copy of Bubsy 3D. But Rosco stood out. The box art was bold. Rosco himself looked like he'd stepped out of a toy box. Big arms, a fireman's hose and a confident stance. He reminded me of a 90s action figure, and that's part of why I bought it. There was something really comforting about his energy. He quipped like Gex. Woohoo! But was less extravagant, more grounded, and kind of charming in that Saturday morning cartoon sort of way. The game itself plays across a burning high-rise complex, where you take control of Rosco and work your way through each floor, putting out fires, destroying malfunctioning robots and rescuing civilians. Each level is kind of a mini-maze. You're racing against time, using axes to smash down doors and tech equipment, hosing down flames and collecting water bottles and solving light environmental puzzles. There's surprising amounts of interaction, from fire extinguishing to object destruction, secret door unlocking and even jumping into laundry baskets to access hidden rooms. And there's resource management, your water supply, keeping an eye out for vending machines and pickups were crucial. It gave the game a bit of tension, not survival horror, but obviously a nice layer of strategy. What stood out the most to me was the visual style. The game was colourful, not just in terms of brightness, but in that bold, clunky PS1 3D aesthetic. Thick outlines, glossy textures, every room felt deliberately designed, like a diorama. It made me think of a Japanese anime when they animated food. I just remember sitting there mesmerised by the milk cartons and water bottles. The milk looked perfect, the water looked generally refreshing. I'd often be sitting there in the morning eating a box of cereal whilst playing through Rosco's firefighting adventure, and that memory, fire milk cereal, it stayed with me. There was a weird juxtaposition to it all. Rosco felt like a cartoon hero, but the game could be brutal. If you missed even a single survivor, you'd hear this haunting scream like something straight out of the Die Hard trilogy end of level screen. It generally unsettled me. The balance of silliness and threat gave Rosco its own atmosphere. It was never fully comedic, but never bleak either. And maybe that's why I connected with it. It reminded me of Fireman Sam, the original 1987 version. Which I would have seen for the first time in the early 90s, a heroic figure running into danger to help people. Rosco had that same energy, that same simplicity, no brooding backstory, no cynical tone, just get in, save who you can and sort out the mess. Levels were built around a rhythm: explore, extinguish, rescue. And there was just enough variation to keep it interesting. Smash fire starting robots, break into locked rooms, use axes and levers to create paths. Vending machines provided water, lockers sometimes contained power-ups. There was even laundry baskets that let you travel between rooms. It was oddly charming. Looking through old magazines now, I love that they called the water bottles the key to success. And it's true, every level's tension came from managing that resource. It wasn't just about blasting fire, it was about knowing when to refill, when to search a corner and when to move on. As I said, it had a rhythm to everything. Visually, the game was loaded with primary colours and strange little details. It had a chunky boldness to it, like a comic book printed on plastic. Yet these were these pockets of deliberate weirdness, floating fireballs, robots with personalities, power-ups that felt like Easter eggs. It gave the game this lived-in, slightly surreal feel, like it was borrowing bits of logic from a Saturday morning cartoon. The game slowly ramped up difficulty, introducing hazards like faulty electronics, steam jets and tougher robot types. You really had to keep an eye out for hidden survivors, sometimes tucked away in obscure corners. The platforming was basic but functional, with light springboards that let Rosco leap huge distances. What I loved was how physical it all felt. Every action had weight, bursting through doors, smashing consoles, grabbing survivors. It wasn't just firefighting, it was like being the only sane person in a malfunctioning robot hotel. Some of the smaller touches were generally clever, like I've already mentioned, but the breakable lockers with health pickups, vending machines full of water bottles, and even laundry baskets that could allow you to leap through and move between rooms. It gave the tower that kind of weird internal logic. It wasn't open world by any means, but it had that PS1 era illusion of scale, rooms connected in odd but deliberate ways, with secrets hidden in lockers or tucked just off screen. The game was published by SCEE and developed by Slippery Snake Digital. Rosco McQueen was very much a product of the PlayStation experimental era. Sony Europe was trying all sorts of different things, pushing past mascots like Crash Bandicoot and Spyro to see what else could stick. It makes you wonder what Rosco was meant to be if he was intended to be an actual mascot. He had the look, the name and the branding. He had his own stylish pause menu area, styled like a lounge in his personal firehouse. But it just didn't land. There was barely any marketing. None of my friends have even heard of this game, and to be fair, most of them aren't obsessed with games like I am, but they knew Crash, Spyro and Mario, and maybe even Croc to some extent. Rosco though, he never entered the conversation, and I don't think it was down to the quality of the game. I think it's just, it wasn't visible enough.
Uh-oh, time bomb alert. Woohoo! Uh-oh, time bomb alert.
Looking back now, I don't think Rosco McQueen is the best platformer or the best puzzle game or even the best firefighting title, but that doesn't mean it's a bad one. It's just a niche. It had personality, it had colour, it had charm, and more than anything, it had heart. You can feel it in the design, in the weight of the animations, in the strange, almost lonely silence of its levels. It's the kind of game that, if you connected with it, it stuck with you. If Rosco had received proper marketing and follow-ups, what could have a sequel look like? Maybe the mechanics were solid enough to evolve into something like a full-on Burning Rages style action game, or a 3D fighter sim with more open-ended rescue gameplay. A lot of what ifs, and I hate to sit there and wonder, but unfortunately, I think Roscoe's time has come to an end, and he may never return.
Phew-wee, it's getting to be a real scorcher. Water's low.
There were many other PlayStation characters who had a similar fate to Rosco. A bold look, fun gameplay, but vanished without a trace. From Cooler World to Rapid Reload, Rascal, Blasto, Rosco fits into that same niche. Ideas that didn't go mainstream, but offered something unusual and heartfelt. For now, I'll just say this. Not every hero wears a cape. Some of them carry hoses, and rescue civilians from robotic fire traps. And sometimes, that's enough for a child from the 90s. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, give it a like and let me know in the comments if you ever heard of Rosco, or if I'm truly the only one who remembers this bold little firefighter from the bargain bin days. If you'd like to see more content, please subscribe and hit that notification bell. Until next time, keep it Petro.